Rejected bride waited 3 days until a cowboy's child asked, "Will you marry my daddy?" The settlement of Red Mesa sat on the edge of the desert planet Vera. 7. A dusty place where the wind whispered across metal-roofed houses and the distant hum of hover wagons filled the air. The town had a strange mix of old and new. Wooden porches and saloons stood next to energy-powered water towers, and ranches raised livestock with both hooves and robotic enhancements. It was a frontier world, dangerous yet full of possibility, and few strangers dared to stay long. On a late afternoon, a lone figure appeared on the horizon, walking along the cracked dirt road leading into the settlement. She was tall, her boots kicking up fine red dust with every step. A long coat trailed behind her, and a wide-brimmed hat shadowed her determined face. Her eyes, sharp and steady, scanned the town with a mixture of curiosity and caution. People paused to watch her, some whispering, others just staring. She was new to Red Mesa, and that alone set tongues wagging. Her name was Leora, a woman who had traveled across harsh deserts and forgotten spaceports. Word of her skill with both hands and machines preceded her, though she carried no weapons openly. She had learned long ago that trust was earned, not given. For 3 settlements in a row she had been turned away, either because of rumors, fear, or envy. Red Mesa was her last hope for work and shelter, a place where she might finally belong. As Leora approached the main street, she noticed a figure moving among the dust and shadows, a man with a calm yet commanding presence. He wore a weathered hat and a dusty coat, and his boots were scuffed from long hours on his ranch. By his side ran a small child, no older than 7, laughing as he chased a hovering drone that zoomed just out of reach. The man's eyes softened as he watched the child, showing a warmth that contrasted sharply with the rugged world around them. This was Caleb, a widowed rancher known across Red Mesa for his fairness and courage. He ran a small but efficient ranch where he raised synthetic cattle, animals engineered to survive the harsh desert climate while producing rich protein for the settlement. Caleb had spent years protecting his land, keeping the colony safe from sandstorms, rogue robots, and occasional bandit raids. His child, Eli, was clever and lively, often finding trouble as quickly as he found joy. When Leora reached the edge of Caleb's ranch, she stopped, unsure how to introduce herself. The smell of metal, dust, and livestock filled the air. Eli noticed her first, his wide eyes following her approach. He ran up to her with fearless curiosity, stopping just short of her boots. "Are you new here?" Eli asked, tilting his head. His small fingers gripped the edges of his jacket. "Yes," Leora replied, smiling faintly. "My name is Leora. I'm looking for work." Eli's face lit up. "Daddy always needs help. Come meet him." Caleb stepped forward, his gaze steady but cautious. "You're far from anywhere else, stranger," he said. His voice was low but firm, carrying the authority of someone used to making decisions quickly. "What brings you to Red Mesa?" "I've been traveling," Leora said honestly. "I'm hoping to find a place to stay and some work. I can handle livestock, machines, or anything else that needs fixing." He had seen many travelers pass through, some helpful, some trouble. Trust did not come easily. Yet there was something in her calm tone, her steady posture, and the way she looked at Eli without hesitation that made him pause. "I can offer temporary work," Caleb said finally, "but know this. Red Mesa is not like other settlements. People here talk, and rumors spread. You'll need to earn your place." "I understand," Leora said, nodding. She adjusted her coat, brushing the dust from her shoulders. "I don't want trouble. I just want to work and stay safe." Caleb studied her for a moment longer before nodding. "All right. You can start at the ranch tomorrow. Don't be late." Ellie clapped his hands in excitement. "You'll like it here. We have real cattle and robo-cows that move funny. Daddy says the machines are tricky, but I think you can handle them." Kneeling slightly so she was at Eli's level, "I'll do my best." That evening, the town was alive with the low hum of engines and the creaking of wooden boards in the wind. Leora found a small room offered by the settlement's innkeeper, a quiet woman with an eye for newcomers. The room was modest, a simple bed, a small table, and a window overlooking the red plain stretching toward the horizon. Leora unpacked her few belongings and gazed out at the desert. She thought about her past rejections, the long roads she had traveled in the hope that this place might finally accept her. The next morning, Leora arrived at the ranch at first light. Caleb was already out in the corral, guiding his livestock, while Eli ran around testing the drones. Leora approached, feeling the weight of eyes on her. the curious and skeptical looks of other ranchers and townsfolk who had begun their day. "We start with the synthetic herd," he said. "They need feeding, checking, and some of the new energy collars calibrated. Follow my instructions exactly." "Yes, sir," Leora replied, though her tone carried confidence. She had worked with machines and animals for years, and she wasn't intimidated by a hybrid herd of engineered livestock. Hours passed as Leora moved through the corral, checking the animals, adjusting collars, and repairing a few minor glitches in the hovering drones that monitored the livestock. Eli shadowed her, asking questions about each machine and animal, his fascination evident. "You fix machines really fast," he exclaimed. "Daddy can barely keep up." Caleb nodded silently, watching both Leora and his child. He noticed how patiently she explained things to Eli, how careful she was with the animals, and how she worked without complaint even under the hot sun. Yet, the townsfolk continued to murmur. A new face in Red Mesa always brought stories, some true, some exaggerated. By midday, Leora had completed her tasks, wiping sweat from her brow as she stepped back to look at the herd. Caleb approached her, the sun casting long shadows across the dusty ground. "You did well," he said, his tone measured. "Better than I expected for someone new." "Don't take that as flattery, it's just fact." "Thank you," Leora said, keeping her expression neutral but pleased. "I've had to learn fast out there. The road isn't kind to slow learners." Eli tugged at her sleeve. "Do you think you'll stay here? I like having you around. You're fun, and you don't yell at the robo-cows like Daddy does." Leora smiled softly. "I think I'd like to stay, if they let me." But the answer came sooner than expected. That afternoon, a few townsfolk approached Caleb quietly. They were respectful but firm, warning him about outsiders and hinting that Leora might bring problems. Caleb listened, his jaw tightening. He knew the settlement's fears were rooted in caution, not malice, but he also knew that sometimes the heart saw things the mind refused to. When Leora returned to the corral later, Caleb met her by the fence. "I'm sorry," he said carefully. "The settlement isn't ready for new people yet. They're worried about gossip and trouble. I don't know if I can ask them to accept you fully." Leora's heart sank. She had faced rejection before, but this time she had hoped for something different. She looked at Caleb, then at Eli, who waited nearby with a worried expression. "I understand," she said quietly. "I will leave then. I can't force anyone to trust me." Before Caleb could reply, Eli stepped forward, his small hands clasped together. "Don't go! Please don't go!" Will you marry my daddy? Then you can stay, and I'll help you with the robo-cows." The words innocent and sincere hung in the air. Caleb looked at his child in shock, then at Leora. She blinked, taken aback by the unexpected proposal. Eli's wide eyes held hope, a trust so pure that it made the adults reconsider their judgments. Caleb knelt to Eli's level, his expression softening. "Ellie, that's a big question. We'll see what happens. But thank you for saying it. You've made us think about things differently." Leora felt a strange warmth at Eli's words. For the first time since arriving on Red Mesa, she didn't feel like a stranger. Perhaps, just perhaps, this planet could become home. And though she didn't know what the next 3 days would bring, Leora decided to stay nearby, watching, learning, and hoping that a chance to belong might finally come. The desert sun rose early over Red Mesa, casting long shadows across the ranch and painting the metal roofs with a pale orange glow. Leora had not left the outskirts of Caleb's property since the moment Eli had spoken his unexpected words. She had made a small camp beneath a lone mesquite tree at the edge of the ranch, where she could see the corral, the ranch house, and the distant plains beyond. 3 days stretched before her, each one slow and quiet, yet full of careful observation. She watched Caleb rise before dawn, guiding his livestock with the patience of a man used to hard work and long days. She noticed how he spoke softly to Eli, explaining each task with calm authority, teaching his child to care for both animals and machines. There was a rhythm to his life, one built on responsibility and love, and it fascinated her. Eli noticed her presence almost immediately. Each morning he would run out to greet her, waving enthusiastically. "Did you sleep well?" "I hope you had enough food," he called, his voice full of energy and concern. Leora would smile and wave back, nodding. She did not speak much. She wanted to respect the space between them, understanding that trust and acceptance had to be earned. He was too absorbed in his routine, feeding the synthetic cattle, checking the energy collars, repairing small drone malfunctions, and tending to the fences stretched across the desert plains. It was only when Eli tugged at his sleeve and pointed toward the edge of the ranch that Caleb finally looked up and saw her. Leora stood under the mesquite tree, dust on her coat, hat shadowing her determined face. Their eyes met briefly, and Caleb gave a small nod. There was unspoken understanding in that nod, acknowledgement of her presence without a promise or a warning. Leora watched Caleb and Eli work, learning their routines, noting the patterns of the livestock and drones. She understood the challenges they faced. Mechanical failures were common in the harsh desert, and the synthetic animals often required delicate calibration to avoid panic or injury. Leora felt a quiet admiration for Caleb's expertise and patience. By midday, Eli ran over with a small tray of water and some food he had helped prepare. "You have to eat," he said, thrusting it toward her. "Daddy says a good worker needs energy." "Thank you, Eli," Leora said softly, accepting the tray. She knelt to his level. "You are a very thoughtful child. I want you to stay. Please. You can help me feed the robo-cows tomorrow, and I'll show you how to fly the little drones." Leora felt a warmth she had not experienced in a long time. The child's sincerity, his trust, and his simple hope were like a light in the dusty landscape. She had been rejected in so many places, told she did not belong, that she was trouble or too independent. But Eli's eyes, wide and innocent, suggested that acceptance could be earned through courage and kindness, not reputation or rumor. The sun began to dip behind the mountains, casting long red shadows across the plains. Caleb called Eli back to the house, and the child ran obediently. Leora packed her small camp for the night, moving a little farther from the edge of the ranch to keep a respectful distance. She thought about the day, about the bond forming between her and the child, and about Caleb, the man who had captured both of their lives in a quiet, commanding way. The second day brought new challenges. A mechanical drone, one used to guide the synthetic cattle, malfunctioned and spun out of control, buzzing dangerously near the corral. Leora's instincts kicked in. Without thinking, she ran toward the drone, catching it by its stabilizing arm and gently lowering it to the ground. Eli cheered. "You saved it?" he exclaimed. "You're amazing." Caleb appeared seconds later, his brow furrowed as he examined the drone. "That could have caused real trouble," he said, but his tone was not angry. "Good work. I've dealt with machines like this before. It's nothing I can't handle." Ellie clapped her on the back. "See? I told you she was smart." Caleb studied Leora closely, noting her calm under pressure, her ability to think and act without hesitation, and the way Eli had taken to her naturally. He began to see her not as a stranger, but as someone who could fit into the rhythm of their lives, someone who could teach his child and help with the ranch. Yet he remained cautious. The settlement's whispers were persistent, and he did not want to act too quickly. Throughout the day, Leora continued to observe and learn. She watched Caleb mend fences, feed the livestock, and inspect the energy collars that kept the synthetic cattle healthy. She watched Eli imitate his father, carefully learning how to guide the animals without startling them. It was a small, quiet life, yet one full of lessons and responsibility, a life she had always admired from afar but never dared to join. By the evening, she had made a small camp once more. She prepared a simple meal, the smell of roasted protein filling the dry air. As she ate, she thought about the bond forming with Caleb and Eli, and about the possibility of staying here, of finally having a place to call home. But uncertainty lingered. Could a settlement that had rejected her ever accept her fully? Could Caleb see beyond rumors and whispers to understand her value? The third day was the most difficult. Leora felt the weight of waiting, of being neither accepted nor completely turned away. She watched Caleb as he rode across the desert plains, guiding the synthetic herd to fresh grazing areas. Eli followed on a smaller hoverbike, laughing and calling out directions. The wind picked up, carrying dust and small pebbles across the open landscape. A minor storm was forming in the distance, a common occurrence on Vera. 7. As the storm approached, Leora noticed a small mechanical failure in one of the drones near the edge of the herd. If left unchecked, it could panic the animals, scattering them across the plains. She acted quickly, running to the malfunctioning drone, stabilizing it and reprogramming it just as the first gusts of wind hit. Eli cheered, running up to her. "You're my hero," he exclaimed. Caleb arrived moments later, wind whipping his coat, dust in his hair. He looked at Leora with quiet respect. "You handled that perfectly. You have skill, courage, and quick thinking. That's rare around here." Leora felt a swell of hope. 3 days of observation, 3 days of quiet patience, had finally led to acknowledgement. She realized that her presence had begun to matter, not just to Eli, but to Caleb as well. That night, As the storm passed and the desert settled into a calm, starlit silence, Leora sat by her small fire, thinking about the bond forming between them. Eli approached, holding a small trinket, a simple piece of metal shaped like a star. "For you," he said. "So you remember us, even if you go." Leora smiled, taking the star carefully. "Thank you, Eli. I will keep it." Ellie looked up at her with hopeful eyes. "Please, don't go." "Daddy likes you. I like you. You can stay, right?" Leora felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. For the first time in years, she felt seen, wanted, and needed. The child's honesty and trust had broken through the wall she had built around herself. She realized that staying might not only mean work and shelter, but family, acceptance, and a life she had only dreamed of. Caleb, watching from a distance, finally allowed himself to approach her camp. He knelt beside the fire, looking at both her and Eli. "You've done more than anyone could ask in just 3 days. You've shown courage, patience, and care." I see you, Leora. And Eli clearly does too."
The child jumped up excitedly, hugging both of them.
"See? I told you she's perfect for us." For the first time, Leora allowed herself to believe that this dusty, dangerous, frontier-like settlement could become her home. The next step, she knew, would be to see if Caleb could trust her fully, if the settlement could accept her, and if Eli's hope could become reality. The night settled in, quiet and calm after the storm. Leora sat by the fire, looking at the stars above Ve'ra. 7. She felt a strange mixture of hope and nervous anticipation. The 3 days had changed something in her. Something soft, something strong, something that made her believe she might finally belong. And for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to dream. The morning sun rose pale over Red Mesa, illuminating the desert plains with a quiet golden light. Leora awoke in her small camp, the fire reduced to warm embers, and packed her belongings, ready to face the day. Today felt different. The air held a sharpness, and even the hum of the hover drone seemed louder, more urgent. Caleb was already out among the livestock, inspecting the energy collars on the synthetic cattle. Eli rode his small hoverbike alongside him, laughing as he raced one of the monitoring drones. Leora approached quietly, carrying a small toolkit and a water jug. "Morning?" she called softly. Caleb looked up briefly, nodding.
"Morning. Something feels off today."
"Keep an eye on the herd. I'll check the southern fence." Ellie's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "Is something wrong, Daddy?" Caleb shook his head, frowning. "Not yet. Just be ready for anything." The tension in the air was subtle at first, a drone flickering unexpectedly, a low, distant rumble that sounded like the desert itself was moving, but soon it became clear that trouble was on the horizon. A swarm of malfunctioning drones from the neighboring settlement had drifted into the outskirts of Red Mesa. These drones were designed to survey the desert and monitor wildlife, but a programming error caused them to act unpredictably. They zipped through the air erratically, their sensors detecting movement and reacting aggressively. Leora spotted the first drone before Caleb did. Its metal body glinted in the sunlight as it swooped near the herd, startling the synthetic cattle. A few animals bolted, sending dust and debris flying across the corral. "Caleb!" Leora shouted, running forward. "The drones are malfunctioning. They'll scare the herd." Caleb spun around, his eyes narrowing. "Get the drones under control. Eli, stay close to the corral."
Eli's small hands gripped the controls of a monitoring drone, trying to redirect it away from the panicked animals.
"I can help," he shouted, his voice both excited and nervous. Leora acted fast. She darted between the charging drones and the herd, using a portable EMP device to disable the malfunctioning units one by one. Sparks flew as each drone fell from the sky, thudding into the desert sand. Eli watched her, eyes wide with admiration as she moved with precision and confidence. "You're amazing," he called. "You're saving the herd." Caleb joined her just as another drone swooped low. He grabbed Leora's arm, pulling her out of the way as the machine zipped past. Careful," he shouted. "We need a plan." Leora nodded, her mind racing. "If we lure them toward the northern canyon, they'll get trapped. The narrow space will prevent them from chasing the herd." Caleb considered her suggestion and then nodded. "Good thinking. Eli, can you guide the herd toward the canyon entrance?" Ellie nodded eagerly. "Yes! I'll do it." He rode his hoverbike at the edge of the panicked animals, using gentle nudges and voice commands to keep them moving in the right direction. Leora and Caleb coordinated to intercept the drones, disabling some with EMP bursts and forcing the rest toward the canyon. Dust swirled around them, heat rising from the desert floor, but the three worked as a team, moving with synchronization they had never experienced before. Leora's technical skills, Caleb's experience, and Eli's intuition combined into a methodical defense. By midday, the majority of the drones were trapped in the canyon, their erratic movements contained. The herd had been guided safely to a quieter grazing area. Leora wiped sweat from her brow, her coat streaked with dust and sand. "Is everyone okay?" Caleb asked, scanning the herd and the equipment. "Yes," Leora replied, smiling faintly, "thanks to Eli's help. He has a good instinct for animals." Ellie beamed. "I told you I could help. Did you see me?" Caleb looked at Leora and then down at his child. He realized how much Eli had grown during this crisis, learning courage, decision-making, and teamwork. He looked at Leora, a new respect in his eyes. "You handled yourself well," he said. "Better than I expected. You're not just skilled, you stay calm when things get tough. That matters more than anything here." Leora felt a warmth spread through her chest. The acknowledgement meant more than she could put into words. For the first time since arriving on Red Mesa, she felt like she truly belonged, not just tolerated, but valued. After the immediate crisis, they worked together to repair minor damages, fences, collars, and monitoring systems. The sun hung high in the sky, casting long shadows over the desert. As they paused for water, Eli climbed onto a rock beside Leora. "You know, Daddy says heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they just help when no one else can." Leora smiled at him. "I like that idea." "You're very wise for your age, Eli." "I get it from Daddy." Caleb chuckled, shaking his head. "Don't let it get to your head, kid." The afternoon brought a quieter tension. The malfunctioning drones had been contained, but the settlement's people began to gather near the ranch to watch the aftermath. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some were impressed by Leora's actions, others wary, still skeptical of the outsider who had taken such control in a crisis. Caleb stepped forward, his voice calm and commanding. "This is Leora. She came to help, and she's proven herself. We've kept the herd safe, and she's earned her place here. For now." The murmurs quieted, and several townsfolk nodded, their expressions a mix of relief and grudging respect. Leora noticed a few smiles, small but genuine, from people who had once been doubtful. It was progress. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky with streaks of pink and orange, Leora, Caleb, and Eli sat on the edge of the corral, watching the peaceful herd graze. Dust hung lightly in the air, reflecting the fading light. Ellie leaned against Leora, his small hand in hers. "You're staying now, right?" Leora squeezed his hand gently. I think I want to." Caleb watched them. His heart tugged in two directions. The cautiousness that had protected him and Eli for so long, and the undeniable truth that this woman belonged with them. The storm of drones had been more than a test of skill. It had shown who she truly was. "I think so too," Caleb said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "I just need to be sure I can trust you, and that the settlement will accept it." Leora turned to him, meeting his eyes. "I don't need everyone to like me. I just want to be part of this family. I can handle the work, the people, the ranch. I just want to belong." Caleb's expression softened. He reached out, resting a hand briefly on hers. "Then you've got a chance. Eli and we'd like that." Eli's face lit up. "See? I knew it. You can stay and help me with the robo-cows. And we can go exploring the canyon, too." Leora laughed softly, brushing dust from her coat. "Exploring the canyon sounds fun. As long as you don't get lost." The night arrived, cool and calm, with stars twinkling like distant lanterns over the desert. Leora set up her small fire, feeling the heat on her face and the quiet acceptance of the day. She thought about the 3 days that had passed, the waiting, the observing, and the silent hope, and realized that she had found something rare: trust, respect, and a bond that could not be measured by words alone. As she lay beneath the mesquite tree, she looked up at the stars above Vera. 7. For the first time in years, she felt that she had a place where she belonged, a place where courage, kindness, and honesty mattered more than rumors and past mistakes. And in the warmth of the desert night, with Eli's small hand brushing against hers and Caleb's presence nearby, Leora allowed herself to believe that home was not a place, but the people who accepted you for who you were. The morning sun rose softly over Red Mesa, painting the desert plains in shades of gold and rose. The air was quiet except for the soft hum of hover drones patrolling the ranch and the low murmur of the synthetic cattle grazing nearby. After the chaos of the past few days, The malfunctioning drones, the panicked herd, and the dust-filled skies, there was a calm that felt almost sacred. Leora stood at the edge of the corral, adjusting the energy collars on a small group of synthetic calves. She had grown accustomed to the rhythms of the ranch, the way Caleb and Eli worked together, and the quiet demands of the livestock. Every movement felt familiar now. Every small sound and whisper of wind, part of a larger pattern she had learned to read. Eli ran up to her, breathless but grinning. "We did it, didn't we? The herd is safe, the drones are gone, and the canyon is quiet." "You did well," Leora said, smiling at the child. "You helped more than you know." Eli's eyes sparkled. "I couldn't have done it without you." "You're like my big sister or something." "No, better than that. You're part of our family, right?" Leora knelt to meet his eyes, feeling a warmth she had not known she needed. "I'd like to be part of your family, Eli," she said softly. At that moment, Caleb approached, his boots crunching over the desert sand. He watched the two of them together, his expression thoughtful. He had spent the last 3 days observing Leora, her courage, her patience, her calm mind under pressure, and the bond she had already formed with his child. The settlement's skepticism no longer mattered. He realized that he had found someone who belonged not only in the ranch but in his heart. "Leora," Caleb said quietly, "there's something I need to ask you." "Yes?" Caleb took a deep breath. "The settlement? Some people still doubt outsiders, but I don't care what they think anymore. You've proven yourself. You've shown courage, skill, and heart. I want you here, not just as a helper, but as part of our family, if you'll have me." Before Leora could answer, Eli ran between them, eyes wide and serious. "Wait!" "Don't forget me," he exclaimed. "I have an important question." Caleb's lips twitched into a small smile. "I think I already know what it is." Eli turned to Leora, his small hands gripping hers. Will you marry my daddy?" The words hung in the warm desert air, simple yet powerful, a child's innocent desire forming the bridge between two hearts. Leora blinked, caught off guard by the directness, the purity of the question. She looked at Caleb, whose face was filled with a mixture of awe and certainty. Leora knelt to Eli's level, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Ellie, that's a very big question," she said softly. "But I think your daddy is the kind of man who deserves someone who cares for him, who will help him and your family. And I think I could be that person." Ellie jumped up and down, clapping his hands. "Really? Really? You'll stay with us?" Leora laughed gently, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Yes, Eli, I'll stay. I'll stay with both of you." Caleb stepped closer, kneeling beside her. His hand brushed against hers. "Then we'll make this work," he said firmly. "I want you with us, Leora. You've already become part of our lives." The three of them stood together, the warmth of the morning sun on their faces, the desert stretching endlessly around them, and the small, hardy settlement of Red Mesa watching quietly from the distance. For the first time since arriving, Leora felt a sense of peace she had never known, a belonging that wasn't dependent on reputation or rumor, but on courage, trust, and love. The rest of the day passed in quiet joy. Leora and Caleb worked together on the ranch, repairing fences and checking the synthetic herd. Eli ran between them, helping where he could and offering constant reminders that this new family was now whole. Leora marveled at the child's energy and insight, his ability to see things clearly and fearlessly, and she felt a protective, almost maternal instinct grow inside her. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, Caleb led Leora and Eli to the edge of the plains. A gentle wind blew, carrying the scent of the desert, the synthetic cattle, and the faint hum of distant hovercrafts. Caleb took Leora's hand in his, steady and warm. "This is our home," he said softly. "Not just the ranch, not just Red Mesa, but wherever we are together. You've earned this place, Leora. You belong here with me and Eli." Leora looked around, taking in the sweeping desert, the distant mountains, and the quiet settlement. She felt the weight of the past, the rejections, the roads, the loneliness, fall away. Here, in the harsh yet beautiful world of Red Mesa, she had found something rare: family, trust, and love. Eli tugged at her hand, pointing toward the canyon where the drones had been trapped. "We can explore it tomorrow. I'll show you all the secret places." Leora smiled, ruffling his hair. "I'd like that very much." That evening, the three sat around a small fire, the sky above Vera, 7 alive with stars. The desert was quiet, the kind of quiet that allowed hearts to speak without words. Eli fell asleep against Leora, exhausted from the excitement and the day's work. Caleb watched them, a sense of contentment and awe filling him. "Thank you," Caleb whispered, almost to himself. "Thank you for staying, for being brave, and for being part of this family." Leora looked at him, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "I should be thanking you. You gave me a chance when others didn't. You showed me kindness and trust. And you taught me that family isn't just people who share blood, it's people who care for each other." Caleb's hand found hers, their fingers intertwining. "Then we'll face whatever comes together," he said. "Storms, machines, the desert. Nothing will break this family. Not now, not ever." The night deepened, and Leora finally allowed herself to rest, the warmth of the fire and the quiet breathing of Eli grounding her. She felt a peace she had never known, a sense of purpose that went beyond survival. She belonged here, and nothing could take that away. In the days that followed, life at the ranch settled into a comfortable rhythm. Leora worked alongside Caleb, teaching Eli new skills with the synthetic herd and the hover drones. The settlement began to see her not as an outsider but as part of their community. She had earned their respect through courage, skill, and the quiet strength that had guided her through the desert roads. Eli continued to be her constant companion, full of curiosity and energy, always eager to explore and learn. Leora found joy in his questions, in his laughter, and in the simple moments of connection, moments that built trust, love, and family bonds stronger than any storm or challenge the desert could offer. Caleb and Leora often worked side by side, their partnership growing deeper with each passing day. He admired her courage, her intelligence, and the way she cared for his child without hesitation. She admired his strength, patience, and quiet determination to do what was right, no matter how difficult. Together they managed the ranch, protected the herd, and created a life full of purpose, laughter, and hope. One evening, as the sun set in brilliant shades of red and gold, Caleb, Leora, and Eli stood on a small hill overlooking the plains. The wind carried the scent of the desert and the gentle hum of the distant town. Eli held both their hands, looking between them with wide eyes and a bright smile. "You're my family," he said simply, "and I'm happy." Leora smiled, squeezing his hand. "We're happy too, Eli. We're all together now." Caleb looked at Leora, a quiet certainty in his eyes. "This is just the beginning," he said. "The ranch, Red Mesa, and all the adventures ahead, we'll face them together, and we'll make this family stronger every day." Leora nodded, feeling a warmth that went deeper than the desert sun, deeper than the trials she had faced. For the first time in her life, she felt a true home, not a place, but people who loved her, trusted her, and needed her. A home where courage, honesty, and care were valued above all else. And as the stars of Ve'ra, 7 shone brightly overhead, the small family, Leora, Caleb, and Eli, stood together on the hill, ready to face whatever the frontier world might bring, bound by trust, respect, and love. The desert was quiet, the herd grazed peacefully, and the settlement slept under the starlit sky. But in that quiet, there was life, warmth, and the beginning of a story that would last far beyond the harsh winds and shifting sands of Red Mesa. For Leora, Caleb, and Eli, the future was bright, and together they could face anything.